his faith. When Isaac grew up, Abraham found him a wife named Rebekah. Genesis 25:21 tells us about their family. Isaac prayed to the Lord on behalf of his wife because she was childless. The Lord answered his prayer, and his wife Rebekah became pregnant, but this pregnancy was unusual. Genesis 25:22-23 describes it. The babies jostled each other within her, and she said, "Why is this happening to me?" So she went to inquire of the Lord. The Lord said to her, "Two nations are in your womb, and two peoples from within you will be separated. One people will be stronger than the other, and the older will serve the younger." When the twins were born, the first was red and hairy, so they named him Esau. The second came out holding Esau's heel, so they called him Jacob, which means he grasps the heel. Genesis 25:27-28 shows how different they were. The boys grew up, and Esau became a skillful hunter, a man of the open country, while Jacob was content to stay at home among the tents. Isaac, who had a taste for wild game, loved Esau, but Rebekah loved Jacob. One day Esau came home very hungry from hunting, and Jacob was cooking stew. Genesis 25:29-34 records what happened. Once, when Jacob was cooking some stew, Esau came in from the open country, famished. He said to Jacob, "Quick, let me have some of that red stew, I'm famished." Jacob replied, "First sell me your birthright." "Look, I am about to die," Esau said. "What good is the birthright to me?" But Jacob said, "Swear to me first." So he swore an oath to him, selling his birthright to Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau some bread and some lentil stew. He ate and drank, and then got up and left. So Esau despised his birthright. Later, when Isaac was old and nearly blind, he wanted to bless Esau before he died. But Rebekah helped Jacob trick his father into giving him the blessing instead. When Esau found out, he was furious and planned to kill Jacob after Isaac died. So Jacob had to run away from home. On his journey, God appeared to Jacob in a dream. Genesis 28:13-15 shows God's promise. There above it stood the Lord, and he said, "I am the Lord, the God of your father Abraham and the God of Isaac. I will give you and your descendants the land on which you are lying. Your descendants will be like the dust of the earth, and you will spread out to the west and to the east, to the north and to the south. All peoples on earth will be blessed through you and your offspring. I am with you and will watch over you wherever you go, and I will bring you back to this land. I will not leave you until I have done what I have promised you." Jacob worked for his uncle Laban for 20 years, married Leah and Rachel, and had 12 sons who would become the 12 tribes of Israel. Eventually, God changed Jacob's name to Israel after he wrestled with an angel all night. Jacob loved Joseph more than his other sons because he was born when Jacob was old. Genesis 37:3 tells us, "Now Israel loved Joseph more than any of his other sons because he had been born to him in his old age, and he made an ornate robe for him." This made Joseph's brothers jealous, especially when Joseph told them about dreams where they bowed down to him. One day, Jacob sent Joseph to check on his brothers who were taking care of the sheep far from home. Genesis 37:18-20 shows what the brothers planned, but they saw him in the distance, and before he reached them, they plotted to kill him. "Here comes that dreamer," they said to each other. "Come now, let's kill him and throw him into one of these cisterns and say that a ferocious animal devoured him. Then we'll see what comes of his dreams." Reuben tried to save Joseph by suggesting they just throw him in a pit, planning to rescue him later. But while Reuben was away, the other brothers sold Joseph to traders going to Egypt. Genesis 37:28 records, "So when the Midianite merchants came by, his brothers pulled Joseph up out of the cistern and sold him for 20 shekels of silver to the Ishmaelites, who took him to Egypt. In Egypt, Joseph was sold to Potiphar, an important official." Genesis 39:2-4 shows how God blessed Joseph. The Lord was with Joseph so that he prospered, and he lived in the house of his Egyptian master. When his master saw that the Lord was with him and that the Lord gave him success in everything he did, Joseph found favor in his eyes and became his attendant. Potiphar put him in charge of his household, and he entrusted to his care everything he owned. But Potiphar's wife tried to seduce Joseph, and when he refused, she falsely accused him. Joseph was thrown in prison, but even there God was with him. Genesis 39:21 tells us, "But while Joseph was there in the prison, the Lord was with him. He showed him kindness and granted him favor in the eyes of the prison warden." In prison, Joseph interpreted dreams for Pharaoh's baker and cupbearer. 2 years later, Pharaoh had troubling dreams that no one could understand. The cupbearer remembered Joseph, and Pharaoh called for him. Genesis 41:25-27 shows Joseph's interpretation. Then Joseph said to Pharaoh, "The dreams of Pharaoh are one and the same. God has revealed to Pharaoh what he is about to do. The 7 good cows are 7 years, and the 7 good heads of grain are 7 years. It is one and the same dream. The 7 lean, ugly cows that came up afterward are 7 years, and so are the 7 worthless heads of grain scorched by the east wind. They are 7 years of famine." Pharaoh was so impressed that he made Joseph second in command over all Egypt. Genesis 41:40-41 records Pharaoh's words, "You shall be in charge of my palace, and all my people are to submit to your orders. Only with respect to the throne will I be greater than you." So Pharaoh said to Joseph, "I hereby put you in charge of the whole land of Egypt." During the 7 years of plenty, Joseph stored up grain. When the famine came, people from many countries came to Egypt to buy food, including Joseph's brothers. They didn't recognize him, but he knew them immediately. After testing them to see if they had changed, Joseph revealed who he was. Genesis 45:4-5 shows this emotional moment. Then Joseph said to his brothers, "Come close to me." When they had done so, he said, "I am your brother Joseph, the one you sold into Egypt. And now do not be distressed, and do not be angry with yourselves for selling me here, because it was to save lives that God sent me ahead of you." Joseph forgave his brothers and invited the whole family to come live in Egypt. Genesis 46:27 tells us the number. With the 2 sons who had been born to Joseph in Egypt, the members of Jacob's family, which went to Egypt, were 70 in all. Jacob, now called Israel, moved his entire family to Egypt, where they would live for the next 400 years. This ended the book of Genesis with God's chosen people in a foreign land, but still under his protection and care. 400 years had passed since Joseph brought his family to Egypt. The Israelites had grown from 70 people to a nation of millions, but things had changed dramatically. Exodus 1:8-10 explains what happened. Then a new king to whom Joseph meant nothing came to power in Egypt. "Look," he said to his people, "the Israelites have become far too numerous for us. Come, we must deal shrewdly with them, or they will become even more numerous. And if war breaks out, we'll join our enemies, fight against us, and leave the country." The Egyptians made the Israelites slaves and forced them to build cities and work in brutal conditions. When that didn't stop their growth, Pharaoh ordered something terrible. Exodus 1:22 records his command. Then Pharaoh gave this order to all his people: "Every Hebrew boy that is born you must throw into the Nile, but let every girl live." One Hebrew woman hid her baby boy for 3 months, then made a basket and put him in the river where Pharaoh's daughter would find him. Exodus 2:5-6 tells us what happened. Then Pharaoh's daughter went down to the Nile to bathe, and her attendants were walking along the riverbank. She saw the basket among the reeds and sent her female slave to get it. She opened it and saw the baby. He was crying and she felt sorry for him. "This is one of the Hebrew babies," she said. The princess adopted the baby and named him Moses. He grew up in Pharaoh's palace, but never forgot he was Hebrew. When he was 40 years old, he saw an Egyptian beating a Hebrew slave and killed the Egyptian. When Pharaoh found out, Moses had to run away to the desert where